The sample for today is Oi Vagrant up next. Let's get it. Nah, fucking crazy. Did you hear how they used the sample? Crazy, crazy.
Someone deserves the sock.
Nah, this is crazy. I'm rewinding it. Oh my god!
Oi, vagrant. O-Y-V-A-G-R-A-N-T.
Oi, Vagrant, I know you're feeling a little bit sick, but I got a fever. And the only cure is for you to make a beat breakdown video, please. We need to see how you made that beat. We need to see how you made that beat. I know you're stuck in the house for a few days. Make us a breakdown.
I ended up using the kilowatt kit group for the kind of nucleus of the beat. So to show you, we have kick, snare. That's actually all the drums that I ended up using, but there's all your typical stuff. And then crucially, there is this incredible little loop here. So right as the battle started, I figured with the sample that it would become a kind of shaker sound if I sped it up. So I just wanted to come up with a simple loop that I could insert that shaker into, and I came up with this. At the end of 4 bars, I could add in another sound from this same group, this kilowatt kit, this one here. And obviously, I have this nice delay on it, replica delay, again a Native Instruments thing. I have it just set to a dotted 8th rhythm. I think I might have turned the mix up just a little bit, the feedback up maybe just a little bit, so it lasted a bit longer. And then you can see I have this ping pong setting so that it's going between the left and the right speakers. Let's move on to the drums. As Kenny noted, it's super straight, it's super simple, and I mean, I just kind of played it in, did some editing, and it just felt right. Let's talk about the sample. I chopped it somewhere in the middle, and actually the beginning of the chop is not super neat, right? And that actually ends up working. It just gives it that little bit of kind of off-kilter feel. Again, that's something that Kenny picked up on. Having that really solid and straight kick and snare allows other things to be a bit more loose and give it that real nice feel.
One thing I want to point out is how stiff the kick and the snare are, but how much the whole thing moves.
So I chopped it, did a little bit of time stretch, but I pitched it up largely to just get it to a tempo that worked. So something like this. And you'll hear that there's this delay on it. What I did with this beat delay here, you'll see that the time is 4/16 notes and it's offset by 4. And what that basically means, excuse me, is that there's a delay set to the length of half a bar. So in this first bit, with the delay set to half a bar, it fills that whole first bar. Let's listen. I have the color set quite high up, which basically just means that the delay version of the sample is going to be a bit more trebly. I've also got a decent split and a bit of panning going on. The idea is that the sample would take on the kind of characteristic of a shaker, but that shaker would constantly be morphing because of the delay. All right, let's have one more listen to that loop. So what I ended up doing is basically repeating that loop and just changing a few things. The most important thing is that I added a bass line. So let's hear what that sounds like quickly. One thing that made this really easy is that this loop here it's really harmonically open. So by itself, it definitely implies a kind of G minor, which I've indicated right here. But if you put the right thing underneath it, it can change the kind of harmonic feel or harmonic implications. The bass itself in this section, anyway, is actually a bunch of sampled stuff, again, from a kind of group put together by someone at Native Instruments, in this case, a group called Field Joy 60s from their Soul Magic expansion. So to give you an idea of what those sound like. So I use all of those at various points throughout the beat. So let me show you what I mean by the harmonic openness of this loop. So here it is by itself, nice G minor feel. But if we add an E flat underneath it, and then a G minor. So that's the first part of what I ended up doing. I actually did kind of play this in live, so this is what I ended up doing. So let's think about this transition into the next section. Okay, so there's a few things going on there. First is this little vibraphone lick, which serves as this really nice kind of melodic transition. This lick was from the same group as the bass samples that I just showed you. So I also start the beat with this, and again, this is another example of something by itself being pretty harmonically open, but when you put different things underneath it, it completely changes the harmony that you hear. The opening with this lick, it just kind of fits really nicely over this G minor. But transitioning into this kind of second section, this little breakdown in the track, it actually fits really nicely over the kind of 4-chord C minor, so like this. So here, I just added this kind of one bass note, again, made by Native Instruments from their Lo-Fi Glow set of sounds, which are really awesome. This particular bass sound is called Pancake. So a few things left to mention about this little breakdown section here. So the first thing is what happens with the drums. So you'll see here that I inserted a clip, and this basically allows you in Maschine to just alter a pattern in one particular bit of your track rather than it altering the pattern for the whole track. What that allowed me to do was take out the shaker, or rather the sample, in a few bits, and then a bit later just take out the drums completely. And you can just do this really quickly in Maschine. It didn't used to be possible, but now it is. I think there's really just one other thing in this loop that I added. I wanted a kind of atmospheric sound, and again, I just went to the group that I was using, and I used this sound. But I pitched it down a bunch so that it would fit with the harmony. So let's hear how that works. So this just worked out really well. I put it into keyboard mode and waited until the harmony fit. So that just really worked with a kind of harmony in G minor. Also slowed it down. It was one of those happy accident moments. One thing that I think I really learned from making this beat overall is, as Kenny would say, don't overthink shit. See what the materials you have to hand are ready to offer you. So just a few things about some of the kind of general mixing stuff. I did a bunch of panning of various elements as I went along. I did a bunch of kind of lazy side chaining with things like this where you just have to work really quickly. I just accept compromise. So for example, I think basically every group that isn't the drums and the sample had a compressor on it, which was side chained to not just the kick, but the drums as a whole. So the sidechain wasn't really, really extreme or anything, but just by doing that, it was a quick way to enable the drums to have a lot of punchiness and just really stand out. And then in terms of what was on the master, I had this solid bus compressor. So for this, I just literally put it onto the preset for the mix bus, but turn the ratio down, because I also had this BX Master Desk. So this is something that I got from Plugin Alliance. It's a Brainworks plugin. It's really good. So again, in instances where I just have to do something quickly and not get too bogged down in the details, I found that this is a really good thing to slap onto a mix, and it just gives everything a little bit of separation, a little bit of punchiness, and then I really ramped up the stereo enhance because I had realized that I hadn't done enough planning into the panning throughout the mix. And then finally, I love Ozone Elements by Isotope, and I'm gonna have to add this in right now because with it on, shit just lags. So I literally just used the Master Assistant. Again, another quick fix when you're pushed for time. And we need to get the music going. Alright, so I accepted this, and what you'll be able to see is that it took out a few points where there was probably some nasty kind of resonance going on. It didn't even add a compressor. It did maximize it a little bit. Clearly my mix wasn't loud enough. And then, yeah, some pretty decent boosting of the high end, probably because there were filters on a few too many things. But again, this is just a quick way to enhance the mix when you're short for time. And I think that's it.